So you want to start an online business? Well, you're in the right place. Over the past several years, I've had multiple online businesses that have resulted in me being able to retire at the age of 22. I'm by no means worth 10 or $20 million yet, but I'm on my way there and I do really well for myself. And this has all been recent as well within the past couple of years. And I'm making this video to share my experiences, my failures, my mistakes, so that anyone watching this that's looking to start an online business, so they can potentially learn from them and save tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in stupid, silly mistakes, honestly. So this video might just be me talking about all the mistakes and stupid things I did when I was starting out multiple different online businesses, and hopefully you can learn from it. This is going to be a super in-depth video where we're gonna cover every single little thing you can possibly imagine or even think about when you're starting an online business. And by the end of this video, you're going to be able to start your online business confidently, knowing that you have all your bases covered. Now, here's some things you can expect from me. An unbiased approach to all aspects of starting and scaling an online business. I know my subscribers will mostly know me from my e-commerce background, and while that's mainly the main thing I focus on, I have experience in many different online businesses, and I'm going to be fair to each one of them because, quite honestly, each one has their positives and negatives about them. I don't have a course or an ebook or anything like that I'm trying to sell you in this video. I'm simply making this video to help people that are looking to start an online business and kind of just go over my experiences, the mistakes I've made, and share the information that I've learned. And I guarantee you, by the end of this video, you're going to have everything you need to start and scale an online business. So if you're ready to jump in, hit that like and subscribe, and let's get started. So first off, let's do a brief overview of everything we're going to be covering here today. This is part one. First, we're gonna do an introduction, who I am, and some expectations, which we've already did that. Next, I'm gonna give you a secret tip. And actually, I wrote this down, and it's one of my favorite tips, and it's something I heard when I first started, and I didn't understand how much it applies in business, because literally all of my success can be attributed to this one thing. And the secret tip that I'm going to share with you today is you don't need to recreate the wheel. If it's your first ever online business or business in general, don't try and recreate the wheel. I mean, look at Amazon and Walmart. Amazon is one of the biggest, if not the biggest companies in the world right now. And they literally just copied Walmart and did it online. I mean, they wrote books about it. So if one of the richest guys in the world literally just took what was working and copied it and pasted it on the internet, why would you try and create something completely brand new? The easiest way to see success in business as a beginner is to just copy what someone else is doing. There's no shame in that. And honestly, from talking to a lot of very experienced and entrepreneurs that are levels higher and higher than me, I just see the same thing repeat and repeat after again. They're saying the best way to succeed in business is to just copy good people that are doing well. For example, if you're trying to learn how to drive a car, are you going to sit in the car and try to drive it by yourself? No, you're first going to watch how someone else is driving the car. You're going to see, okay, they hold their hands there, they stop like this, they brake like this, they gas it like that, and you're just going to observe at first. And then when it's time for you to learn, you're possibly gonna sit in the driver's seat, and that person is gonna sit next to you in the passenger seat, and they're kind of gonna guide you like, okay, yeah, no, you can't turn left here. No, traffic is coming. I know you have a green light, but it's not a green arrow. You can't turn left yet. Or when you pull up to a red light, right turn on red, but right now there's cars going, so you have to wait for it. They're gonna be guiding you along the way, someone that's experienced and done it before. And so I wouldn't try and start a business in any other way. That's just being silly and stupid, and that's an easy way to jack up your risk and lose a lot of money. So that's the secret tip that I wanted to share. So if you can learn anything, if you can take away anything, if I could give you anything from this entire video, it's just copy what's working. It's that simple. Good artists copy, great artists steal. So next one, the giveaway. So I'm trying to grow this YouTube channel, and I'm going to be doing a $1,000 cash giveaway. Actually, let me bring the cash out. So I have $1,000 cash that I'm going to give away to a viewer of mine that watches this video, and throughout this entire video, I'm gonna sprinkle in a secret word. And there's gonna be a lot of words said, a lot of words drawn out on the whiteboard here today. but it's gonna be a secret word. It's probably gonna be like a 5-second thing. So if you watch this entire video and you pay attention, you can actually comment the secret word that I mentioned throughout this video, and you'll have an extra $1,000 to start your online business. And all I ask in return is just pay attention. This is for your own good. You're educating yourself. You're doing something good. You're trying to start an online business. You're hopeful. You have high ambitions. And I think this video is going to be really insightful and helpful for you, because I don't hear many people talking about this stuff. And there's a lack of like serious in-depth information, and that's why I'm making this video. So that covers the introduction. Part 2, which we'll get to shortly, is mindset and planning. We're gonna cover several things there. We're going to define our terms, because most people, when they say online business, they don't even know what online business means, but I'm getting too far ahead of myself. Next, we're gonna personalize your online business, because quite honestly, not every single business model is the right fit for everyone. It's not a one-size-fits-all type of scenario. There's different shoe sizes. So a business that someone might love, another person might absolutely hate. For example, if you love talking to people, someone that's introverted would absolutely hate having your type of business, and vice versa. And so we're going to personalize what type of business would best suit you and your personality and what you like to do. We're going to identify the online business models and weigh out the pros and cons of each one. Then in part 6, we're going to go about validating your business idea so you can actually minimize your risk and not lose money. Next, we're gonna discuss building an online presence. I know if you look at this YouTube channel, you might see, oh, David, you have 700 subscribers. Why are you talking about building an online presence? Well, most of the money that I've made has come directly from paid advertising. I haven't been an influencer forever. My first video on this channel I posted was like 4 months ago. And even then, like, I don't get crazy amounts of views. But what's more impressive is I've been able to do the things I've done with paid advertising alone. I didn't have to make videos every single day or every single week, because quite honestly, it's draining. I'm gonna be real. Standing here for 3 hours, it takes a toll. When I could very well just go and sit and have a little drink or do whatever I want, really. But I'm making this video because I love talking about this. And so when it comes to making money online through attention and paid advertising, I'm kind of a marketing specialist, really. If you go and look on my YouTube channel, you'll find a bunch of videos where I discuss in-depth paid advertising, paid traffic, direct marketing, and email marketing as well, but we'll get to that later. So number 8, social media strategy, also kind of ties into building an online presence, but in today's day and age, guys, a business has to be online. And not only online, but video content is the way to go for pretty much everything. I mean, obviously, if you just hate being on video, you can't do it, or you can't hire someone to create the video ads for you. There's other methods like Twitter or email, but video ads, video content is where it's at in the online business space right now. And we're going to go over each platform and what businesses do better on what platforms, and this is something I have a lot of experience with. Next, we're going to cover SEO and why it's important for long-term and sustainable growth. Then in part 10, we're going to discuss how you can actually create your first product or get a product to sell if you don't want to create one, and also how to create and package your service or drop ship someone else's service. Next, we're going to discuss sales funnels, what they are, how to build them, and this is something I also have a lot of experience with. Number 12, we're going to discuss marketing your business, from the free way of marketing to the paid way of marketing, and this is also something I have a ton of experience with, especially the paid way. We're also going to cover email marketing, email lists, how to build a list, how to engage with the list, how to actually convert people on your list to money every single month. And then also how to manage and grow and scale your online business, because I think one of the main reasons a lot of people get into online business is because how scalable it is, as opposed to having a in-person business where once you do a deal one time, that's it. With an online business, oftentimes it's reoccurrent, or you have multiple ways of getting customers for a very little amount of work. It's very high leverage, meaning you can put an input in, you can put 1 day of work in and get an exponential amount of returns because many people can watch a video, many people can buy a product. You're not tied down by, product constraints. I'll get to that later. And lastly, we're going to get to our conclusion, which will include some actionable next steps for you to take to actually start an online business and not just be in the middle of the ocean and lake of procrastination, which I know a lot of people fall into. We're going to cover some key takeaways, some major important things that you can take away from this video that will truly change your life. Also, some words of encouragement, because I know it could be daunting to, start an online business. You might think, man, I don't even know where to start. And you're doing a good job by watching this video. And like I said, throughout this entire video, you're gonna have all your bases covered and you're gonna know every single little thing you can possibly even need to know or want to know. And honestly, a lot of this information is very overboard. To start an online business, you don't need to watch a 10-hour video, right? As long as you know the basics, you can start. It doesn't have to be this huge daunting thing. I know some people, they go to college for 4 years to learn about entrepreneurship. I dropped out of college after my first year. I dropped out of university after my first year. And I can tell you that's been one of the best decisions I've ever made, because you go to college, you go to university, you go to high school, whatever it is, and it's just so much repetitive stuff, and it seems like they all just talk about the basics. And while the basics are important, they never share any tactics. And in this day and age, the tactics is what a lot of people are missing. They understand okay, I need to, sell something for more than I got it, right? Or I need to sell my service for whatever amount I want to make per hour, right? Stuff like that. But they never go into how. How do you actually do that? How do you actually find someone to give you their money? How do you actually sell a product for thousands of dollars or $100 or a service? They never talk about the nitty-gritty things, and that's what I want this video to do really well. So like I said, there's going to be some actionable steps you can take. And then also at the very end, there's a surprise gift. Now, don't fast forward to surprise gift, because it won't make sense to you if you don't watch this entire thing. However, I will say this is probably one of the most valuable things I've ever given out on this channel. So let's get into it. So let's start off with mindset and planning. And the way we're going to do this is first start off by defining your goals. You clicked on how to start an online business. Let's take a step back and ask yourself, why do you want to start an online business? What's your goal? Is it because of the freedom it can provide you? Is it because of the lifestyle you want to have? Is it because you just want a big pile of money in your bank account? For me personally, at first it was for all of the materialistic things. I wanted, the fancy stuff, the expensive stuff, but now it's really just about freedom. I like the ability to travel whenever and wherever I want. I like the ability to not have to answer to a boss, do whatever I want. I can record YouTube videos like this on I don't even know, it's a Tuesday at 1 p.m. because I want to. I can kind of just do whatever I want. And so I want you to ask yourself, what is the reason? What are your goals? Why are you even watching this video? What are you trying to accomplish long term and short term? Because when you have a clear goal and a reason why, you can kind of push past when times are tough, because there will be challenges that come up in business, in any business. Business is stressful, business is challenging in some aspects, especially as a beginner, if you don't have anyone helping you. And so having a clear why are you doing this, is very beneficial and helpful. And I will say your goal dictates how far you will get. Oftentimes, this is what I've seen with people. For example, if your goal and motivation for starting a business and scaling a business is just money, and once you get to, $1 million, $5 million, you're set and you're happy and you kind of take your foot off the gas, well, your business won't really grow. For example, the founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, he said, I found a calling. He found a calling. He was willing to work on Amazon for years and years without seeing any returns because he found a calling. And in order to build something massive like that, oftentimes it requires a calling, like something you just feel called to do that you would do for free, even if no one was paying you. And so the next thing I want to cover is mindset. And a lot of people have what I call a scarcity mindset when they're an employee or they're not self-employed or they don't have their own business and they think money is scarce. When in reality, that couldn't be further from the truth. Money is everywhere around you. Just take a look. If you live in a major city, I'm sure you've probably seen this before. If you live in any city or any suburbs, you've probably seen this before. But mostly what I find is people that are stuck, that feel stuck in a 9 to 5 job, they are the ones that are saying money is scarce. Oh, I only make, 15 bucks an hour. I only make 50 bucks an hour, whatever it is. They're the ones that feel like money is scarce because they've never actually went out and worked for themselves and made some serious money. They've always just been obedient to a boss and got paid like small crumbs. I bet you would be surprised if you're working a 9 to 5 right now to find out how much your boss makes. I mean, if you're working in corporate America for a big corporation, just look at first how much the CEO makes. I'm sure it'll be a couple $1,000,000 if it's a large company. And then look at how much the founder or the business owner or the shareholders make every single month or every single year. And if you can find that information publicly, you'll see that it's a lot more than the CEO oftentimes. So the reason you think money is scarce is because quite honestly, you don't have a lot of it probably. Or you just never been paid a lot. And that's fine. But the way to really change it, the only way to change it is to start making more money. And you're going to be able to do that after watching this video. So expectations. I see a lot of people get into online business and they think it's some magical thing that's gonna make them a millionaire overnight or in the next week or next 2 weeks, when in reality, that's not the case. I mean, you're not gambling here. Realistic expectations are as follows. I mean, depending on your skill set, your experiences that you already have, it could take years sometimes, but it could also take days sometimes. Like I've seen people go from, being a chef, making $3,000 a month for literally over a decade to surpassing that, well beyond that, to like 50, 60K a month take home within just like a couple short months. So I've seen both sides of the spectrum. I've seen people get stuck and not be able to make any money. And then I've seen a bunch of people that were able to substantially, exponentially blow up their income just by simply starting an online business and applying the skills that they have and that they learned. And regardless of how long it takes you to reach whatever benchmarks or goals you may have set for yourself or will set for yourself, the number one thing you have to remember is you have to learn from your failures and just keep pushing. Because it's true, you will run into failures. It's guaranteed. I guarantee you will run into failures. But the one thing you have to remember is you have to stay positive and understand that you're learning from every single failure you go through. And every single failure is an opportunity to be better, to learn, and to do better next time when you try again. Because that's the only option you have, to try again, because what else are you going to do? So first, let's define our terms, because oftentimes people get confused and mixed up on what even an online business is, or even what the word start means. You clicked on this video, you want to start an online business. So let's go over exactly what that means. First off, my definition of business is simply you want other people's money. You want to start a business? Okay, you want other people's money. You want people to give you their money. That's basically what it is. You want to take other people's money and give it to yourself. That's what I see as a business. Now, the way you do that, there's different ways of doing that. There's creative ways of doing that. There's very straightforward and direct ways of doing that. But overall, you just want other people's money. That's what business is. You want to get other people's money. Now, an online business is a little bit different, and everyone has their own definition of this without even realizing it. For example, if you run a landscaping company and you have employees working for you, but you have a manager in place and you don't do any of the physical work yourself, you just check in on your computer once a day and maybe have a call with your manager, would you consider that an online business? Because really all you're doing is just working from your computer. It's a question. I mean, my definition of online business is the business owner, you, being able to do work from a computer without getting your hands dirty and without breaking your back. That's what my definition of an online business is. Because quite honestly, at the end of the day, oftentimes there's always someone with boots on the ground doing the work. Whether you're doing e-commerce, there's still someone in the warehouse packaging up an order, a manufacturer making the product. Even if you're doing like a marketing agency, there's still someone recording the video ads. There's still someone, doing all that. So regardless of what it is, even like a software company, there's still people setting up the servers, setting up the actual code. there's no such thing as an online business, even with like a content creator where you're making content. Maybe you're a YouTuber or something, you're making videos. You still have to like do the physical work. It's not all online. Sure, I have a whiteboard, I have lights, I have my computer here. Like what do people mean when they say online business, right? Let's define it for yourself. So what do you actually want out of an online business? Why not just start a normal business? Ask yourself that. Because a normal business, like a landscaping company, you can build that up and then get to the point where you're only going from a computer. So why does it have to be online? What do you consider an online business? Next, we're going to go over the definition of start, because a lot of people have this misconception that, oh, when I create my LLC, I have started my business. When in reality, I consider the start of an online business or a business in general when you have made your first dollar. That's when you have officially started. Just because you put together a logo, a website, you maybe filed for an LLC, you got your EIN, that doesn't mean anything. Anyone can do that. Anyone can pay the filing fee. What I consider starting an online business is when that first sale hits your account. When the first money hits your account, you have officially started an online business. And that's what this video is going to help you do. Get you paid as soon as possible so you have officially started your online business. And for some people, it takes literally hours, and other people it takes years, because they just procrastinate and not take action. So hopefully we have defined those terms and you understand what I mean when I say these terms, because oftentimes people, they think online business, oh, that means it has to be e-commerce or that has to be agency. What does an online business mean to you? Really define it for yourself. Personalization. This is going to differ for every single person, and I'm going to give you some ideas so you can kind of get a better understanding of what you would actually be into and enjoy doing on a day-to-day basis. So like I said, it's different for every person, but you have to ask yourself, what type of work do you actually like doing? What do you actually like doing? For example, I know some people, they would never be a salesperson. They just hate talking to people. They hate talking to new people every single day. And so if you hate talking to new people and you don't want to try and change that, a sales job where you're constantly talking to new people would be a very bad idea for you. And on the flip side, if you love talking to people and new people, a sales job where you're dealing with new customers every single day would be a great idea for you. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get at here. Now, the truth is there's a lot of different options available. So let's say you love sales, but you hate talking to new people. Well, there's sales jobs out there where you constantly talk to the same customers. And I know that's a job, I'm talking about a sales job, but we're talking about a business. And so really you have to break it down in what would you like to do on a daily basis? Would you like to make videos like this on a daily basis if you're trying to be a content creator? Would you like to do research on different products and trends if you're trying to get into e-commerce? Or would you like to stay the same and not like change anything, just set everything up one time and just let it run on autopilot, which would also be e-commerce? Or do you want to talk to business owners and constantly be talking to new business owners and selling them stuff like a marketing agency owner? And so really the point of this is actually sit down and take a look and consider, what do you actually like and what do you want to do? And let me explain what I mean by this by sharing my personal experience. When I first started an online business, I had an agency. I was making websites and running paid advertisements for small business owners. And the reason I didn't like it was because I was talking to so many people all the time, dealing with their issues, dealing with their complaints, fulfilling the services, and then also selling them on the services. Every single time I would have to get on the phone and sell them stuff. And the reality is, I didn't like that at the time. And now I find myself doing e-commerce more because I don't have to talk to as many people. I have, a handful of suppliers. I make my ads, I run them, and it prints money, right? It's beautiful. But a business like that, an e-commerce business for someone that loves talking to new people every single day, might not be the best fit. Or if you don't like sharing stuff about yourself, if you don't like putting yourself out there, I can't recommend you to be a content creator unless you want to start developing that skill. What good is that? You would be scared to get in front of the camera every single time you turn it on. So really, I encourage you to take a look at what you like doing, what you hate doing, what you're scared of doing, what you're not scared of doing. And I want you to understand that sometimes it's a good thing to do what you're scared of doing. For example, I wouldn't say I was scared of sales, but I didn't really like it because sales, you're talking to people, you're asking them for money. I wasn't really a fan of it, even though I've done it in the past, but it's not my go-to thing. I would much rather just show my advertisements and have people reach out to me and just buy it right away instead of having a full-blown conversation for an hour trying to get them to buy my stuff. And while I've been good at sales just naturally because I'm pretty good at talking to people when I want to, I found that once I forced myself to actually do sales calls, so one campaign, it was about a year ago, I forced myself to sit down and take at least 100 sales calls, video sales calls. And I did exactly that within about 3 weeks. I talked to 100 people that I ran marketing to. I got them on the calendar. I ended up having Google Meets with them. And after 100 sales calls, I got like insanely good at it, like a lot better than I was. I'm not saying like I'm a sales expert by any means, but I'm a lot better than like someone that's never done it before, obviously. And you'd be surprised by how quickly you can pick up a skill or learn something just by doing it for, a week or two. I think there's a statistic where you learn like 80% of a new skill within the first 20 hours of actually doing it. And so 80%, that's pretty much the majority. So all you have to do is just start doing it and you'll learn quite a bit. Now, obviously the difference between 80% and 90% can be the difference between $10,000 a month and $100,000 a month, but still you learn quite a bit. And so that's all to say, just see what you're interested in, see what you don't mind doing, see what you like doing, and tailor your online business to that. So now let's identify the online business model you want to choose. And the first step is deciding whether you want to have a product or a service. Now, there's a lot that goes into each one, and I'll kind of break it down, but I'll give you my experience with both just to start off. So I will say a product is a little more difficult to make work and actually be profitable from my experience. But once you do make it profitable that first time, once you do have like a profitable way of getting customers for your product, it is a lot easier to scale than a service. Now, on the flip side, a service is very easy to get profitable because you just need to talk and convince someone to buy your stuff just one time. And you already have, a couple $1,000 in your bank account from selling your service, whatever it is. For example, if you're trying to start a marketing agency, right? All you have to do is convince someone to give you $2,000 to make them a website, something simple like that. Whereas if you're trying to start a business with a product, well, now you have to find someone that can make it, a supplier that can ship it out for you. You have to set up your logistics, you have to set up your store, and then you actually have to run the ads and get people to buy it from your store. So there's definitely pros and cons to each. A service is oftentimes faster to make money, but just because it's faster doesn't mean it's better long term, because a service is a lot more difficult to scale, especially when you're trying to break past, like 50K a month, 100K a month. If that's your goal, you're definitely gonna want to go with a product. And one thing I will mention that I don't see a lot of people talking about is a productized service. And what I mean by this is a service that feels like a service, but in reality, it's a product. Let me give you a quick example of this. So let's say I'm going to a business owner and I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna run your marketing for you and I'm gonna build you a website. I'm gonna get you 10 new customers every single month, right? I can go to him and say that and he'll be like, okay, great, 10 new customers to me, that makes me an extra 20 grand a month. I'm willing to pay you 5 grand a month to do that for me. I'm like, all right, great deal. Now, it would be a service if I actually went and did all the work myself every single time. However, you can set things up where it's just copy and paste, where you have people in place that take care of everything for you, and then you have tools and softwares that take care of everything for you. So really, I would say I define productized service varying how much time it takes on your end or your employee's end. For example, if you're doing all the work yourself, just bare bones, the old-fashioned way, all of that work to get him 10 new customers might take you 30 hours a week or 20 hours a week. If you're doing it with the productized service, it could take you somewhere like 30 minutes a week, something like that, where you just set everything up, you put in the business name, you put in your ad creatives, you make the landing pages, you just change the headlines, make a couple tweaks, and now it's ready to go within 30 minutes. And so when I say productized service, just think of a service business that has everything dialed down to a T, where it's super efficient. Now, I have experience with both product-based businesses and service-based businesses, and I will say overall, product-based businesses for my personality type are a lot better because you don't have to talk to as many people constantly. You don't have to deal with as many people constantly. As long as you have a product that people want, it's quite simple and easy. Now we're going to overview some of the most common and popular online business models and discuss the pros and cons of each one and my experiences with each one. So first off, we have e-commerce, and as I mentioned before, it's my favorite because you don't have to talk to as many people. You just set up your store one time, you set up the product one time, you set the ads up one time, and it kind of just runs on autopilot and brings you money in every single day without you really doing anything. And so that's why I love it so much. But some people don't like that. I know people that they don't like sitting on their thumbs. They genuinely have to stay active. They have to be constantly doing something in their business, or else they'll feel like they're unproductive. And this is something I struggled with in the beginning too, at first. I'll be honest, when you have everything set up, you're not doing anything and the sales are just coming in. You're feeling like, well, what like value am I providing to society? I'm just making money on autopilot, just sitting on my couch. And some people don't like that. And at first I had to get used to it too. And so I relate, because as humans, we're kind of hardwired that if we're not working, typing away on the keyboard or shoveling with a shovel, that we're not like being useful or we're not doing good. Because I truly believe that humans are made to work. We like to work. Personally, I enjoy working. I can retire, yet here I am like talking about business. This is, I guess you can consider it work. Some people would consider it work. I don't consider it work. But the thing is, e-commerce is probably the best one for lazy people out there, or people that don't like working constantly. The next one we have is software. So I don't have too much experience with software. The only experience I have with software is using a bunch and paying a bunch on subscriptions every single month for a bunch of softwares that I use, but then also white labeling Go High Level, which Go High Level is like a CRM if you want to look it up. It's basically helps businesses like send out emails, send out SMSs, do like marketing automations, build out websites. It's a very useful tool. It's a nice software. I think you can get it for like $100 a month, and you can pretty much build out your entire sales funnel and landing pages with that software. So Go High Level, you can also sell it as a software yourself. So there's an option there. I think it's like $400 a month or something. And what you can do is actually white label Go High Level, the software. And so you can put your own branding on the software and go sell it to business owners and businesses and say, look, this is a software, it's mine, and I'll have like your logo on it. And here, I'm gonna set up your marketing for you. I use my own software. I'm gonna give you a login. You can log in and see all the statistics, all the data, all the page views, stuff like that. I'm getting too far ahead of myself, but I will say, creating your own software is very usually expensive. So for example, I'm doing that right now with my own supplier research database and product research database for e-commerce. If you're interested in that, you can go check out some other videos on my channel. But I will say it's very expensive, and I don't recommend it to beginners because the cost to acquire a customer for a software is probably the highest. I don't know any software companies except one that is profitable on a first-time purchase for their software package. Oftentimes when these software companies like CRM companies, sales pipelines, like stuff like that, whenever these softwares are launching and trying to get customers, they're going in the negative on the first month, the second month, the third month. They might spend $150 on ads to acquire one customer for $50 a month, and then just hope that they stay with them for at least 3 months, 4 months to cover their costs. And if it's a good software, they'll have no problem doing that. And oftentimes that's what, a lot of the big names do, like Salesforce, for instance. They blew up over a short time period simply because their LTV, their lifetime value of a customer, was so high, and their product was so good that anyone that wasn't using them was getting left behind. And so they were able to spend a bunch on advertising because their product and software was so good. However, as a beginner, to develop your own software, especially something crazy good like that, it's very expensive. And so as a beginner with no experience, I wouldn't recommend software unless you just want to white label a software like Go High Level, in which case, that's a very sustainable model. I will say, with Go High Level, white labeling that, you'll make, I don't know what the number is. There's like affiliate earnings, stuff like that. You can charge people per email you send out on top of what Go High Level charges you. So there's all fancy ways to make money like that. But overall, software is more difficult. In terms of the difficulty scale, I would say it's probably the hardest one to do or to start. Like, I know that from personal experience as I'm building out my own software. Next, we have agency. So the one thing I want to discuss here is there are all sorts of agencies out there. It doesn't just have to be a marketing agency. I know I've alluded to marketing agencies so often because that's what I've used to have. And that's probably the most popular one. But I've hired and paid for all sorts of agencies out there. There's video editing agencies, there's copywriting agencies, there's email agencies, there's advertising agent, like marketing agencies, sales agencies. There is an infinite amount of types of agencies out there, literally whatever you can imagine. And the thing you have to understand with an agency is you just have to be good at getting customers in and then making sure they're happy. Because you can get a customer for you $2,000 a month and then find someone else that's skilled at fulfilling whatever your agency is around and pay them, $1,000 a month. That's basically what you're doing. You're just arbitraging a connection. From my personal experience, a marketing agency, first off, the cost to acquire a customer for a marketing agency was very expensive. For me, it was about like $2,000. And I'm pretty good with like marketing and paid advertisements, and it was still around like $2,000. Now, hear me out. On average, the customers would spend around $6,500 over the course of like 3 or 4 months before they would leave, or I would fill up their calendar and they'd be like, hey, I got too many people on my schedule, too many customers, I don't need ads anymore. So was it profitable? Yes. Was it a lot of work for not being able to keep a customer long term? Maybe that was a skill issue on my part. It probably was, if I'm gonna be honest. Because the one thing I realized with the marketing agency, if you give someone so much customers that they literally can't keep up, they fire you. And essentially you're getting fired for doing such a good job. So yeah. And then also if you charge too much and you make too much off them, they're going to realize that after a couple months and they're just gonna bring it in-house and just hire someone. For example, why would you hire a video editing agency for $5,000 when you could just hire a literally full-time employee to edit videos for you for $3,000? It just doesn't make sense. So with an agency, there is like a sweet spot, I will say. And oftentimes, especially as a beginner, you're gonna be stuck doing like just manual reach outs to get customers if you don't have a lot of money to start. Or if you do have money to start, you're probably going to be going into the negative, into the red, on your first month, possibly your second month, if you're using paid ads to find customers. And that's what a lot of these big companies do. They'll spend $100,000 a month on ads and only make $50,000 a month back. And then on month 2, they'll make another $50,000 and then another $50,000. And it kind of just snowballs from there. That's why it's so important to collect emails and retarget people that you're advertising to, but we'll get to that later. Next, you have a content creator. So the one thing I'll say about content is it is probably the most rewarding that I've seen long-term. So it is a very long-term game compared to all of these other things. Like e-commerce, you can get started and start making money as early as this week. Agency, same thing. Software, if you're just affiliate for Go High Level, something like that, you can do it as early as this week. If you're building it out, that's like months. Oftentimes with content, it's months as well, maybe even years for some people, depending on what type of content you do. Now, I'll tell you a secret strategy for content creation, and it's attaching a business to it. For example, if you have an agency, if you're trying to sell a service to business owners, an easy way to get customers is to actually make content about this. So you can actually combine these to make them more effective. And this is where leverage comes into play. So let me give you a quick example. Let's say you have an agency for whatever you're good at. Let's say you're good at video editing and you have an agency for video editing. Well, now you have an agency, but you can also make YouTube videos and TikToks and Instagram Reels about the videos you're editing, and you can get more customers that way. So now you're combining 2 of the business models on this list. So now not only are you servicing clients editing videos, but you're also making content and getting more clients this way. Then if you have like 10, 20 clients, there are softwares out there that let you manage, edit, kind of put notes on a video. So for example, I hired a video editing agency and they were charging me about, I think like $4,000 a month. I forget exactly what, but I had a certain amount of videos I can send to them and they'll edit them, blah, 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 blah. And there was a software that they were using that allowed me to view the edits and the drafts and comment on certain parts of a video, and I would actually be paying for that as well. They take it out like from my overall fee, but that software was about $100 a month. And so they were combining software, agency, and content creator because they were doing all three, and that's kind of how they were funneling people into their agency, getting money from their customers reoccurrently because I pay them every single month, and then also using software as a means to make their whole process more efficient and allow me to, you know, take notes and tell them to edit what I wanted to edit. So I will say with content, it's definitely more of a long-term play. The way you can speed it up is by attaching a business to it, and that works for any of these. For example, if you do e-commerce, you have a product, the way you can speed up that business is by making a bunch of content around your product and actually making sales through the content you post. I've seen it countless times where someone posts a video about their product and they get a bunch of sales because of it. Because really, it only takes 1,000 people to watch a video in order for someone to buy it. Next is consultant/coach. So this is something I recommend if you have extensive experience in a certain field or subject matter or industry. So for example, if you've been a mechanic for a while and you know all the details, ins and outs about, you know, gasoline powered engines that are manufactured in the US, you can very well get people to pay you for you to teach them everything that you know. And I'll give you guys an example of this. So I have extensive experience and knowledge with e-commerce. And so I actually have a consulting and a coaching business. Now, I'm not trying to sell you a course here or a program or anything like that, but I'm just trying to be transparent with you and tell you guys, like, I have experience doing this, and I also have experience getting those types of customers, not using organic marketing, all through paid ads. And so what can I say about consultant or coach? You definitely need to have experience and above industry standard experience. So if you're just like every other mechanic out there, you probably won't make much unless you're really good at marketing. If you are like an insanely good mechanic, let's say you fixed an engine, I don't know what like standards are for mechanics, but let's say everyone takes 4 hours to rebuild an engine and it takes you like 30 minutes because you have your own secret way of doing things. Well, now you have big potential because you can go ahead and teach mechanic shops and businesses, oh, look, you guys are spending 4 hours on engine rebuilds. I'm spending 30 minutes. Let me show you how you do it. Or for example, if you're a car salesperson, right? If you're in sales and you're constantly doing like twice as much sales as your coworkers, you're twice as good. You can very well go and teach other car salespeople. This is my track record. I've been selling 40 cars a month every single month for the past 2 years. You guys are selling only 20 cars a month for the past 2 years on average. I want to teach you how to literally double the amount of sales. And so you're providing a lot of value because, you know, doubling the amount of sales you make every month, you're essentially doubling your income, and people would be willing to pay you $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 for that information and for that expertise. So what can I say from my experience? For example, I have a consulting business on e-commerce where I teach beginners how to start and scale a higher ticket e-commerce store. And the truth is, you'd be surprised by how many people are actually interested in getting like one-on-one help. I know nowadays there's so many courses out there, there's so many community groups out there, but I truly believe the best way to learn is directly one-on-one. And that's the way I do it. And that's the way I see that has most success because you're actually showing up for someone and they're showing up for you. And you're holding each other accountable. You know, the reason most people fail with online education isn't because the content is bad or the information is bad. It's because they're not involved in a community. They don't stay consistent. There's no accountability. For example, when you were going to school, you had to show up every single day. You had to be there whether you wanted to or not. And eventually you learned math, you learned multiplication, you learned algebra, whatever, if you know algebra. But a lot of online courses don't have that aspect. And so the biggest indicator of success isn't the content of the course or consultant itself, but actually how active the community group. That's a statistic that you can look up and fact check. well known across the industry. The success of the students is directly tied to how much one-on-one time they get with the consultant or mentor, and how active the community is and what kind of network there is around it. And so I don't have any shame selling courses or consulting services or mentorship services, because quite honestly, I'm helping people change their lives. If you pay me 10 grand and now you're able to make 100 grand over the next 2 months, I think that's a fair trade for you. I think that's a fair trade for me if I didn't spend too much time on it and just gave you some pointers and gave you some tips and showed you what to do. I think that's a great trade on both ends, because now you make more money, I got some money too, and I got a new friend in the industry that I kind of trained, and now we can work together. So overall, I will say you want to choose a model that best suits your personality. For example, with the consultant, I'm talking to people, I'm talking to my students, I'm teaching them, I'm showing them stuff. And so, if you don't like talking to people, even if you do have extensive experience, maybe that's not the best fit for you. If you don't like content, if you're scared of the camera, if you don't like talking for hours on end, maybe being a content creator isn't for you. Maybe you're just too scared of what other people will think. And again, these are all things you can change and work on if you want to, but if you don't want to, that's fine as well. And like I said, e-commerce is my favorite. That's what I help people get into. That's what I do. Overall, I think it's just a no-brainer. If you don't like talking to people, if you want to be able to work from anywhere in the world and not have to worry constantly, you just set everything up one time and just have the sales come in on autopilot from your advertisements. I think e-commerce is probably the best one on this list, especially for a beginner. Validating your business idea. Now, I know that might sound complicated, but in reality, it's very simple. Really, what you're gonna wanna do is look at other people that are in the industry or doing the business that you wanna do and see kind of what outcomes, what results do they have. So for example, if you're thinking about starting an agency, look at other agency owners out there and see what kind of lifestyle they're living, what kind of results do they have, how much money are they making, or take a guess at how much money they're making. If you're doing market research and you're looking like, hey, I wanna start a pre-workout brand, look at the other pre-workout brands out there if you're going for a product. Like, I know the pre-workout industry in the US is about $21 billion, whereas the education industry is about $300 billion. So what's easier to grab, like just a small fraction of the market? Would it be the pre-workout industry, or would it be the information industry? Or for example, the marketing industry. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but it's less than the educational industry. Or high-ticket e-commerce, for example. How much do people spend on high-end goods or expensive goods every single year? It's a lot. It's more than all of those. I mean, think about all the couches, all the tables, all of these big, costly items that people spend money on every single year. There is literally trillions of dollars being spent on these items. And so when I say market research, it's a mix of both things. Look at other people that are doing the type of business that you're interested in doing and kind of see, how much are they making? I think you'd be surprised by if you reach out and ask them how open they are, I know from personal experience, I've reached out to a bunch of people when I was interested in starting any of my businesses. So for example, I was starting an agency, I reached out to other agency owners. And while it might seem like they're competition, guys, there is plenty of food, there is plenty of work to go around. Really, it's just a matter of actually doing the work and doing it well. There's a lot of competition, but I wouldn't really call it competition because quite honestly, everyone brings their own style and unique messaging and unique experiences to the table. And so just because, there's someone out there with an e-commerce brand that's worth $50 million, that doesn't mean that no one's gonna buy your stuff. On the flip side, people love that a service that a small business can deliver, that one-on-one expertise. For example, I'm not trying to give you any ideas, but let's say you were trying to start an e-commerce business and you wanted to learn from someone that's done it before, like a mentor. You can, I'm sure there's, tons of companies out there that have thousands and thousands of students, like where they just churn them out in and out, like a college or a university, right? Where you might learn, the outdated methods that have gone through the curriculum and been approved by the administration and stuff like that. Or you can go to a person like me where I only take on a handful of clients every single month. It's a very personalized experience and you can learn directly and see what's working right now. And my methods, they're just proven, tested methods. It's not like I had to go to a board of education or a superintendent and say, hey, this is what I want to teach my students. Can we get it approved? And then they scribble out. Like, if you're familiar with the education system in America in terms of like public schools or public universities, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, they literally tell teachers and professors what they can and can't teach, which I think is just simply stupid. And that's why I'm so bullish on online education as a whole. But regardless, you want to see other people that are doing what you're interested in doing and see how it's worked out for them, you know? Same thing, like imagine you're trying to get a job, right? And so the reason most people assume doctors make a lot of money is because doctors usually have a higher end lifestyle. They live in a bigger home. They maybe drive a better car, right? The reason people assume garbage men don't make that much money is because they're always or usually dirty whenever they're working. And you don't really see a garbage man driving around in a Lamborghini. You just don't see it. And so that's the same concept I'm trying to give you to apply to business owners. Like, look at business owners, see how they're living. You know, someone might say, oh, I make $50 million or $1 million a year. But if they live like in a crappy house and they drive a crappy car, I mean, you know, I guess it's not nice to judge on appearances, but oftentimes appearances are pretty accurate, you know? If someone's living in a big home, you might assume that they have a lot of money, and you'd probably be right. It's not like, you know, someone in business, they'd have to be pretty stupid to spend like a huge chunk of their money on their living expenses. And we'll get into budgeting. I think maybe I could do like a whole separate video on budgeting and living expenses, but really when you're trying to start a business, especially an online business, oftentimes you're pouring a lot of money back in. So for example, with e-commerce, you can start an e-commerce business for as little as $500 and have it be very profitable. But the truth is that first month, that second month, that third month, if you're trying to grow it into something huge and make, you know, generational wealth and long-term wealth, oftentimes you're reinvesting that money right back into the business. Sure, you can take out some money, but your business won't grow as fast. So that's just the reality if you're starting with, you know, a low amount of money. So look at other people, look at their lifestyle, kind of see how much money they're making, see how they present themselves if you would want their lifestyle. So for example, if you see someone that's an agency owner, but they're constantly, you know, working 60 hours a week, dealing with a bunch of their bosses or clients, would you actually want that lifestyle? Minimum viable product. So what I mean by this is, what is the minimum amount of effort you can put into a product or service in order for them to say yes and to actually test your idea out into the market? So for example, if you have a marketing agency, I'm sorry I keep coming back to this, but if you have a marketing agency, you don't have to offer everything right off the bat. You don't have to be willing to create a website, run their email campaigns, do their ads, run their retargeting. Like, you don't have to do everything. You can just start with one thing that you know how to do. Like, hey, I'll build you a website, right? And then over time, as you get more customers, as you get more experience, you can go to your customers and say, hey, you know that website I built? I can actually run an email automation to all those people that landed on your website and opted in and get you more clicks, get you more views and more business. And then, you know, a month later, now you have 30 customers and you can go to them and say, hey, all those people that landed on your website, I can run a retargeting campaign and show your ads to all those people again in case they forgot about you or didn't purchase it the first time, and you'll be fresh on their mind again. And so you can constantly add to your product or service. So really it's about getting a minimum viable product that you can bring out to the market and actually start making money. So for example, with my one-on-one mentorship for e-commerce, I have a course, right? It's a beautiful course. It's an amazing course. I've gone through several iterations of it, literally 4, to make it perfect. The first course I ever put out on e-commerce, it was about 8 hours long. And honestly, I had a bunch of stuff in it that I didn't need, and also a lot of stuff in it that I needed. And so after the first draft, I get a couple people in, they go through it. Some people have great results, some people have terrible results. And so I go in and ask people, like, what didn't you like about this part? What did you like about this part? Why did you stop here? Why did you continue here? Why did you watch this part? And then you make changes and you put it out again. You run a couple new people through it, and then you see what happens as a result of it. And then you're like, okay, you did a lot better than that first group. Why is that? Oh, you like this section, you didn't like this, and you just keep improving and improving. But in order to sell it for that first time, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to, get the job done, right? Quite honestly, for example, like this video, I don't know how long it'll take, probably an hour or two. This video will probably be an hour or two. And don't forget about the giveaway, $1,000, so keep watching. But this video is gonna be an hour or two. In reality, there's people out there that can take the exact same concepts that I'm talking about here and the exact same things and stretch this video out for 20 hours. There's also people that can shrink this video down into 20 minutes, but you want to get as much information and as much value out of it as you would in this video. And so same thing with the minimum viable product. It really depends on what kind of customer experience you want to give people, and also what you want to start with, right? You definitely don't want to screw people over on the first launch, because then they're just going to badmouth you, and that's not ideal for anyone. And like I was mentioning earlier, you just start small with a minimum viable product, and you reiterate and improve every single time you make edits to your product or come up with something new. The reason I like e-commerce is because you aren't creating the product. You're simply just selling a product that someone else has already gone through this vicious cycle of launching a product, improving it, and you're just using a supplier to sell your product online. And so you already know that, look, the manufacturer has a warranty, they have guarantees, they have returns in place. You don't take any of the risk of the product yourself, and that's why I love it so much. So regardless of what model you choose to begin with, you're going to have to build an online presence, whether it's an agency, an e-commerce business, a consultant, whatever it is, a software, a content creator, you're going to need to have an online presence for either your product or your service or yourself. And the way you do that is simply by creating a website. And I know that might sound very complex and difficult, but honestly, with all the platforms available out there, building a website these days is plug and play. You can have it up within 30 minutes. You don't need anything fancy. You can start for free. Some options are like $1 a month. So for example, I know with Shopify, if you're doing e-commerce, you can get started for free. And then I think it's like $1 a month for the first 3 months, which is basically free. Let's be real, $3 to have a website that anyone in the world can visit. That's amazing, that's beautiful. It wasn't like this 10, 20 years ago. There's also some other options available out there that you can look up. Personally, I think the easiest one to set up is Shopify. Also, ClickFunnels is pretty good too, but their page load speeds aren't that good. Shopify is the premium one, and honestly, like the flagship website builder for online businesses in 2024. And the thing you have to understand is these websites have templates ready for you. Just plug and play. So you don't have to go and pay someone $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 to make you a website, especially when you're not doing anything that complex. If you just need a simple checkout for your product, have a couple nice images, or if you just need like an informational page for your agency or consulting business, or if you just want to have a portfolio of your work for social media, whatever it is, this stuff takes literally 30 minutes to set up. And I know people that have spent years procrastinating building a website, and then they actually start doing it and they're like, wow, that was so quick. Now, as a beginner, you just want your website to look as professional as possible. And so I know I got a little ahead of myself, but realistically, until you scale to like $100,000 a month or $200,000 a month, you don't have to pay too much attention to like page load speeds. And I'll give you an example, and we'll cover this later, but like if you're running paid advertisements, right, to a landing page, and that landing page takes 3 seconds to load versus 1 second to load, well, there's gonna be a massive drop off in people, sometimes as high as like 20%, and that can actually cut into your profit margins. And so once you get to that level of scale, now you can start optimizing your website and saying like, look, I need my landing page hosted on Amazon AWS servers because they just load a lot faster than a ClickFunnels server. And so once you start scaling, you can start optimizing and playing around with your website. I know there's a bunch of CRO experts out there. You do minor changes like add a countdown timer or add a international clock or adjust the currencies into local currency, stuff like that. There's all sorts of this extra stuff you can do, and long term and once you scale, it is beneficial to do, it helps. But when you're just starting out, you don't want to pay attention to that. Just have a nice professional looking website that people can visit so you have an online presence. Social media strategy. And for this topic, we're going to be discussing organic marketing, because I can do a whole separate video, and actually I'll be getting to it later in this video about paid marketing, because organic and free marketing versus paid marketing, they're two completely different animals and different beasts. And so first we're going to cover organic marketing. So why do you want to have an organic marketing strategy in place? Well, overall, long-term, organic marketing is just more effective in terms of generating impressions and reach. So for example, if I run an advertisement for a product, I might get 1 out of every 1,000 people that see that ad to buy from me. Whereas if I make a TikTok video about a $10,000 ice bath, well, not a lot of people might buy it because not a lot of people are interested in a $10,000 ice bath. Whereas if I literally bid on keywords on Google and spend $1,000 on keywords of ice tub for sale, well, now a lot more people would buy it because they're actually already looking that up in Google search. So social media organic strategies are as follows, depending on what type of customers you're servicing. And we're going to be going over the platforms here. So for example, YouTube is very popular with men aged, I think like 18 to 30. That's their primary platform that they consume content on. And it's mostly long form content. LinkedIn is more so for professionals above the age of 30, mostly white collar work. So, like managers, executives, assistants, stuff like that. They're mostly on LinkedIn, and it's more of a professional platform. So if you were looking to sell like marketing services, LinkedIn would be a really good way to contact business owners. Instagram is popular with millennials, so think age 28 to like 40. That's primarily the people that use Instagram. Actually, like 25 to 40, I would say. And then TikTok is popular with the younger demographic, so think Gen Z, like 13 to 25, roughly. Although I will say there is a lot of attention on TikTok right now. So I've run ads on TikTok a lot before, and I was surprised. The first time I ever ran ads on TikTok, I was surprised by how many like 50, 60, 40-year-olds are actually on that app. I was genuinely shocked because at first I didn't really use it. I didn't really use TikTok. I just saw like young kids using it. And so I figured, oh, it's just an app for young kids. Once I started advertising on it and actually testing out the platform, I realized, wow, there are a lot of older people that use this app and are kind of like addicted to it, to be honest with you. And I mean, from a marketing end, that's okay for me, but just from a general life end, that's not a good thing. And quite honestly, the average US American, they spend about 2.5 hours a day on social media. A day, 2.5 hours. That's a lot. That's a lot. So think about that when you're thinking about your social media strategy. That's how you get your message out, social media. And then you have Facebook, which is popular with, older, a little millennials too. So from the age of like 35 plus, there's statistics, there's demographics. You can look this up. I'm just spitballing from the top of my head here. I don't know the concrete numbers, but that's pretty much the frameworks around it. So depending on what service, what product you're selling, you're going to want to use the correct platform. So for example, I also forgot, Pinterest is a very popular one with women. So if you're selling like a skirt for 30-year-old woman, you wouldn't want to advertise that on LinkedIn. You wouldn't want to advertise that on YouTube. You would primarily want to advertise that on Pinterest or Instagram, right? Great. If you're trying to sell a pre-workout drink or like an energy drink to 18-year-old kids because you want to get them addicted on it for life, like Prime and Logan Paul and all those kids, you would want to primarily do that on TikTok and YouTube because that's primarily where that demographic is on. If you're trying to sell to older people, maybe like older conservatives that live in the suburbs, Facebook is the prime spot for that right there, So depending on what product or service you're selling, you want to be dependent on the platform. And honestly, an easy way to find out what platform you should be on is just look at your competition. So if you're trying to sell an ice tub, look at where your other competitions are advertising their ice tubs. Would you see a lot of Instagram videos about it? Sure, you'll see some, but primarily it's going to be Google keywords because that's where they catch high buying intent customers. So with social media, consistency and quality is key. That's what's going to give you long-term results. For example, I've grown many organic short form video pages on TikTok and Instagram, and I will say consistency is key. And the thing is, it doesn't even have to be like great consistency, to be honest. As long as you're showing up once a day, once a week, 2 times a week, just making the world know that you're out there, that's enough alone. People are willing to listen to you about your service or product. For example, an hour ago, you didn't know who I was, maybe, and now you're watching this YouTube video. And so people will listen, people will watch, as long as you have something valuable to share or say. And really quickly, I want to discuss the short form versus long form content game right now. So, you're watching a YouTube video, long form content, and that likely means you're like a higher intent buying, you're more serious, you're more curious, you're more intentional with how you spend your time if you're watching a long form video like this. Because the people that watch short form content, they're just looking for those instant dopamine hits. Quite honestly, you can't learn much off a short form video. You just can't. What can you learn in 30 seconds? You can hear like a headline, you can get maybe like a tip or two, but you're not going to actually fully understand an idea in just 30 seconds. That's not the case. You can't do it, right? So if I wanted to teach you how to start an e-commerce business, I can't do that in 60 seconds. Like, I can give you an overview, like, look, you find your product, you find this, you find that. I can give you like a broad overview, but you'd be left holding you'd be left with a bunch of questions. You'd be like, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? And so for something like that, you'd have to watch like long form content. So I will say short form content is good for getting a bunch of impressions and eyeballs, but not as intentional and serious eyeballs. Whereas long form videos, it's a lot better to capture attention and more intentional attention. And so I'll give you an example. If I'm advertising for a ice bath, like I was talking earlier, I would much rather have 500 views on a 20-minute YouTube video where I talk about an ice bath than I would 100,000 views on a 30-second TikTok video about the ice bath. I'm serious. That's true. Because the people that are watching a 20-minute video, they are way more likely to buy that ice bath. They're already questioning, like, oh, will this fit in my house? How's this? How's this? How cold does it get? How big is it? Whereas people on TikTok, they're just like, oh, wow, yeah, cool, whatever, blah, right? So pay attention. Honestly, if you're selling something higher ticket, if it's, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, most likely you need some long form content. So it's very hard to convince someone to buy a $30,000 sauna unless it's from a reputable brand without a long form video. However, it's very easy to convince someone to buy a $5 marker off a TikTok video, right? That's kind of the idea and what I'm getting at here. And also one more thing I want to mention, I'll toss this in there as well, SEO basics. So what is SEO? SEO is search engine optimization. And what that means is you're basically indexing for certain keywords that people would look up as opposed to trying to go viral. And I'll explain what I mean by this. So if you're familiar with the YouTube platform, you're watching a video on it, so I'm assuming you are, there's basically 2 different types of videos that creators can make. They can make SEO content where they would try and rank for certain keywords. So for example, how to start an online business. For me, this is an SEO video where this will get indexed in the library of how to start an online business. And now whenever someone looks up how to start an online business, my video will pop up. A viral video would be something like Mr. Beast's video. I put 100 strangers in a room together. No one's looking up in the search box, I put 100 strangers in a room together. He's just relying on the YouTube algorithm to push his videos out to his subscribers and to his homepage. Obviously, Mr. Beast is huge. That's a very big example, but I'm just trying to demonstrate this point. So for example, if I wanted to make a viral video, I would make a video about, I made $500,000 in 1 year. And I would post that video and people would watch it and most likely like, comment, share, and be fully engaged with it because that's interesting content. But no one would ever go into the search bar and type in, I made $500,000 in a year. No one would ever do that. It's not like search-worthy terms, whereas how-tos or tutorials or specific questions are. And I think the important thing to note here is these videos oftentimes die out after a certain amount of time. And these videos actually grow exponentially with time if it's good content, because people will like it, share it, comment it, and you'll climb in the rankings. And this isn't just for YouTube, it's for TikTok as well. I know, like, if you go on the TikTok search bar and you type in, how to start an e-commerce business, the first video that will be on there is probably a video from years and years ago, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, because over time it's been indexed in the search engine, and whenever someone looks it up, it says, well, this video has the most engagement, they're most likely to enjoy this video, we're gonna show them this video. And so most platforms operate this way. And so it's important to know, oftentimes for business, you want SEO content because you'll have consistent and reliable traffic coming into your business. Also, just in general for websites, for example, if you're selling ice baths, your website would rank a lot higher for the organic keyword ice baths in Google search if you had the domain name ice baths for sale instead of, some brand name, Noir, right? Because Noir has nothing to do with ice baths, whereas ice baths for sale does. Creating your first product or service. Now, as I alluded to earlier, the easiest way to succeed in online business as a beginner with no prior experience is to simply just copy what someone else is doing, or just use someone else's product. You don't have to go out there and create your own product, whether that's a digital product or a physical product. You can just sell someone else's product and make a ton of money. You don't have to put in so much work for that return, when you can just go and take a product that's already selling, that has existing demand, and just advertise it and make a premium on it. However, if you do want to create your own product, we're going to discuss that as well. So when it comes to a product, you need someone that supplies that product. Now, what I advocate for is finding products that already have built-in demand from reputable suppliers that people already know, like, and trust, and just advertising to those people. I have a whole separate training on this channel about that if you want to go check out some of my e-commerce videos. But also, you can make your own product. Now, making your own product is oftentimes a lot more time consuming, especially when it comes to digital products. So for example, if you're making a course or like an ebook, something like that, that has a lot of work front loaded. You have to put in a lot of time and energy, and you also have to have experience and knowledge about the thing you're making the product about, right? You can't just have ChatGPT write it up for you. Although some people have been doing that, but they don't scale hard. Like, sure, you can sell a shitty PDF to 100 people, but then what? After they buy it, they're gonna get pissed off, they don't like it, they're not gonna buy from you again. And what's the point of having a business if people don't buy from you again? That's really where the life-changing money of having a business, having an e-commerce brand, having an agency comes from. It's the repeat purchases, it's the compounding effect. So same goes for services. So for a service, the way you present your service that you offer is probably the biggest thing that I can suggest you focus on. So if you're doing a marketing for a business, an agency, and you know how to market and run paid advertising for that business owner, well, would you say, hey, I can make you a website? Or would you say, hey, I can bring you in 10 new customers every single month? Which one do you think the business owner cares more about and is more likely to say yes to? Just having a website where they don't know how many people it's gonna bring in, if any at all, or having 10 new customers, So really what I mean by this is, in your offer, you wanna sell the result, sell the dream outcome. Don't sell the fact of how you're going to do it. Like, look, here's how I'm going to do it. I'm gonna build this website, I'm gonna build this opt-in, I'm gonna run these campaigns. They don't wanna hear that, they don't care. They just want the result. They want more customers. Same thing for e-commerce. Like, if you're selling someone an ice bath, oftentimes, like, sure, have it in the description, but they don't care about the nitty-gritty details of how an ice bath works. Oh, you're gonna cool your body temperature down, your pores are going to close, your testosterone will spike because of the like, they don't care about all that stuff. They just want to know, what is it going to do for their life? How is it gonna better their life? What results can they expect out of it? And so the packaging for really any product is important. The way you present something is how it's going to be understood, and the way you frame something is also a big factor. For example, if a 10-year-old kid was to make a video like this, no one would watch it because that 10-year-old kid has never built an online business. Whereas if someone that's built multiple online businesses makes a video like this, well, now more people are going to watch it. And if Jeff Bezos made a video like this, how to build an online business, tens of millions of people would watch that because it's literally Jeff Bezos. He built the biggest online business, Amazon.com. So the framing of how you present your products, your services, your business is very important because it kind of like is what prefaces everything else. For example, like the Bible. Why do people read the Bible again and again and again? Because it's prefaced with this is the word of God, right? And so that's like an extreme example, but that's just to give you an idea. Whereas, a fantasy book that's written by, I don't know, J.K. Rowling, is that the one that wrote Harry Potter or something like that? Like, people understand like, oh, this isn't history, it's fantasy. So you have to present your offer and your product to people in the correct framing and the correct light. And also, I want to touch on portfolio building. So one of the challenges people run into when they're starting a service business is people like to see results and testimonials. That's one of the most important things you can have for any business. Like, look, this person paid me, he got this result. This business owner paid me, he got this result. This customer paid me, he got this ice bath. And he was super happy about it. He took a picture and left a review on our website, right? Stuff like that. People care about what is my life going to look like after I give you my money. And so the way you set expectations is by having testimonials and reviews. Now, when you're just starting out, you don't have that. So how do you get those? Well, you work for free. And I know you might be saying like, Dave, I'm in business to make money. Why would I work for free? Well, the truth is that's how a lot of people get their start. So for example, when I first started teaching people about doing e-commerce, I was doing it for free. I didn't expect people to pay me $10,000 right off the bat to teach them e-commerce, even though I could show them, oh, here are my stores, here are my results. I've never taught it before. But then after I taught people and I have testimonials, I have reviews, I'm like, look, this person did this with me, and in just 3 weeks, he got to this amount. Within 2 months, this person got to this amount, this guy quit his job, and I can show people proof and testimonials that this stuff works and it's legit, it's real. And now people are way more likely to buy it and actually be willing to pay a premium because I have so many reviews and testimonials. And when you're starting your business, that's what you need to focus on in the beginning as well. And so it's fine if you work for free for a month. Like, quite honestly, working for free for a month and getting a bunch of reviews and testimonials, it will make your business so much easier to sell new customers because you have all this experience and background to share with them and show them like, this person paid me, he got this result, he was super happy, he left me a video, watch it. That's the easiest way to sell. And so the way you can build a portfolio is to do it for free. Now, the nice thing about e-commerce is instead of having to build a portfolio, if you're working with a supplier that's been selling this product already, you can just take all of their reviews. And that's totally fine and ethically okay because it's the same product. It's not like a service where it might be different every time. Whenever you sell a product, the same product gets shipped out from the same supplier. There's no changes, nothing's different, everything's the same. So all of those reviews, all of those testimonials apply. Sales funnels. So how do you actually capture the sale? You have your product, you have your service, you're ready to start advertising, to start marketing. How do you actually capture the sale and get the money from your customer? So there's two different ways of doing this depending on whether you have a product or a service. These are like the main ways that I see people doing and that I've done, and that's worked extremely effectively for me throughout my entire and all my businesses. So first off, you have a product page. So if you're selling a physical product or even a digital product, oftentimes what you'll have is an advertisement or an organic post, and you'll send people to a product page where they can read a description, they can look at pictures, and within 5 seconds of them landing on this page, you probably get it all the time, but you'll have a pop-up pop up, and a lot of companies do like, oh, 10% off if you give us your email address, or get a free PDF if you give us your email address. And the reason they're doing this is they're building up their email list, and we'll touch on that in a bit, but you want to start collecting emails of potential customers that are interested in your product or service. But then after that, it'll be pretty straightforward and just a simple add to cart or a checkout page. So honestly, with e-commerce, it's very simple and easy to set up. All you need is descriptions, pictures, and a product title with pricing. Very simple. However, with us, when you're selling a service, it gets a little more complex if you want quality leads and quality sales calls. So with the service, you have an ad and you send them to a page, oftentimes with a video, what we call a video sales letter. And oftentimes this video is 10 to 20 minutes long, where it's basically an introduction to yourself, the service that you offer, how much you charge, what you can do for your prospect. So for example, if you have a video editing agency, right? And you want people to book calls that are interested in your services, you would make an ad or a piece of content, and you would send people to a landing page that has a video of you explaining what you do and how you do it and how it benefits them and how it can help them, right? So you'd pop up on a page and I'd say, hey, my name's Dave. I edit videos for a living and I want to edit videos for you. And you'd go on into your sales pitch. It's basically a sales pitch video on why they should book a call and potentially give you thousands of dollars every single month in order for you to do work for them. So after you have the VSL, you have an opt-in where you can also collect emails and retarget and send more marketing to them after. And then there's a book a call page. Oftentimes you'll see people running like a Calendly booking page where you can book a slot of time to speak with either a salesperson or, if you're starting out, it'd be with the business owner. And then after they finish booking that page, there's often a pre-call video where it kind of frames the appointment, the meeting. Hey, you just booked a call with our video editing agency. Here's what you can expect from us. We're going to go over your current videos, how they're currently being edited, what kind of adjustments we can make, how we can increase retention, how we can increase views, all that sort of stuff. So these are the main two funnels I see and have run before. I will say this is a lot more complicated to set up than this, because here it's very consistent. It's the same thing every time. Whereas a video, you might have a video where 2 minutes in you stuttered, or maybe you weren't as confident in what you said, and now the potential customer doesn't trust you as much, stuff like that. So these are a lot more complicated to get right. Once you get it right though, you can get quality appointments onto your calendar and sell to them consistently. However, with a product, it's a lot more consistent right off the bat. The one thing I will say that a lot of beginners mess up is not collecting emails. This pop-up and this opt-in, I know, as a customer, you might not be liking to get hit with those opt-ins because, they pop up while you're in the middle of looking at something and you're like, oh, I got to put my email address in or exit out of that as fast as you can, right? But they make money because how big your email list is pretty much directly proportional with how much money you're going to make. And so I alluded to this earlier, but once you start running at scale, things matter, especially with paid advertising. We'll get to that in a second, but even increasing the page load speed of these pages right here by a second or two can be the difference between you breaking even and you profiting 30% just because of the page load speed of where you're sending your traffic to. So for example, if I'm selling an ice bath, right? And I have an ad for an ice bath and someone clicks on it and it takes 5 seconds to load that page, well, I can expect 50% of the people interested to just immediately bounce and go somewhere else. Whereas if that website takes half a second to load, well, now almost everyone waits half a second for a website to load. So small things like this matter with online business. And it's something a lot of people overlook because it's a very simple and easy mistake to make. Oh, I set up my website, it's live, people are going to it, awesome. And you never even care to check the load speed on that page. And some softwares that you can use to build out these sales pages. So for a product, I recommend Shopify. For a service, I recommend ClickFunnels. It's one of the most popular ones. But like I said, on ClickFunnels, their servers are quite slow. So especially if you're running a VSL page on ClickFunnels, I recommend converting it to HTML and hosting it on AWS because it is a lot faster loading speed times. Marketing your business, probably my favorite part about this entire video. So there's two ways of marketing. There's basically the free route and the paid route. And oftentimes people think, marketing and advertising is so expensive when in reality, that's not the case. And when it's done correctly, it can actually pay you every single day. So let's quickly go over the basics and then some of the more nitty-gritty things. So first off, let's start with organic. Organic is the primary way where you can get customers for free. And you could do this by, a handful of ways. Oftentimes that involves making content or making videos and pictures about your product or service and posting them on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, wherever your target demographic is. And so, for instance, if you're trying to get customers for a video editing agency, like I mentioned earlier, you can very well just put up a tutorial or, a time lapse of you editing videos up on YouTube, up on TikTok, up on Instagram, and reach out to people on LinkedIn that possibly have brands that they need video edited for. And they'll likely see your stuff. They'll Google your name, your business name. They'll see, your social profiles, and they'll see like, oh, okay, this guy knows his stuff. I like the types of videos he makes. I'll book a call with him, right? I will say, like I said earlier, organic is a much slower way of growing, and you'll oftentimes get not as serious buyers. And the one thing I want to mention is when you're using paid advertising, so whether that's Google AdWords or Facebook ads or TikTok ads, their pixels are some of the best pieces of AI machinery out there. Their algorithms are literally top-notch, cutting edge, where, on an organic post, you might get 100,000 views and only get 2 clients for your video editing agency. Whereas if you run that same video as an advertisement on, Meta or TikTok, or you spend the same amount on Google Ads, they'll actually show it to people who are ready to buy it then and there. So who do you think is more likely to sign up for your video editing service? Someone that's looking in on Google, typing in the keyword video editing agency around me or for hire, versus just someone scrolling on TikTok that sees you editing a video that might not even have a need for video editors. It's pretty common sense, but a lot of people overlook it. And the nice thing about paid advertising is once you do have an email list of, let's say, 100 people that are interested in your product or service, or you have 100 customers that have already bought from you, whether it's a product or service, you can then go and feed that data back to the AI algorithms, back to the pixels. You can upload that data and customer list to Facebook, to Meta, to TikTok, and they can create a lookalike audience of people that look exactly like the people that have bought from you before, and your cost per purchase, your cost per lead drops significantly. So if at first it costed you, $100 to get one phone call for your video editing agency, now it can cost $50. If at first it costed you $1,000 to get one 5,000 sale for an ice bath, now it can cost you $500 or even less. And so what you have to understand is when paid advertising is done correctly, it is literally like a cash printing machine, because you put $1 in, you get 3 out, you get 5 out, you get 10 out. But the problem is that not a lot of people know how to do paid marketing and paid advertising correctly. That means a lot of people waste money trying out a bunch of things and it doesn't work out for them, and they say paid ads don't work. When in reality, I've made a ton of money from paid ads, and I know a ton of people that have. It's all about how you execute the strategy. So for example, I see a ton of people running ads on platforms and not even collecting simple information like an email. Like, these people will see you once and then never see you again, especially if you don't retarget these people, right? So there's a lot that goes into building trust with a potential customer and actually making them an informed consumer before they purchase. And a lot of people seem to skip this part and forget about it or don't even know it exists. So typically, you want to be collecting emails, whether you're running organic marketing or paid marketing, because the amount you make can be directly correlated with how big your email list is. And actually, I have my computer. You know what? I'm not even gonna look it up. Also, the type of emails you collect is important. So if someone just clicks on an ad and you ask them for their email right away, well, that's not an as serious potential buyer as someone that has sat through a 10-minute video and then has decided to give you their email, because now that person has already, built some sort of rapport, a little relationship with you. And so they're a lot more likely to open your emails. So for instance, on one of my email campaigns right now, that I send people to watch a video for at least 10 minutes, and then they get asked with a bunch of questions and I get their email. My open rates on the emails I send out, and I send out a lot, if you're on my email list, you know I send out an email like every 2 hours, because every time I do, I make money. That's why I do it. The more often you send emails out, the more money you'll make, period. Anyone that wants to unsubscribe, they can unsubscribe. If they unsubscribe, they probably weren't gonna buy anything from me anyways, so I don't care. But the people that do open them, they say they love my emails. They love getting my emails every 2 hours because my emails are actually good. And so my open rate is above 60% right now. That means for every email that I send out every 2 hours, during the nighttime on EST time, I send it out every 4 hours. But every 2 hours that I send an email out, my open rate is consistently above 60%. Think about that. So I'm literally sending out like at least 12 emails per lead that I'm working on every single day. Obviously, it's all automated. I use ActiveCampaign. It's a great platform. It doesn't hurt my deliverability because these are all engaged people. Now, if I was collecting opt-ins and emails for people that just clicked on my ad and I automatically hit them with an opt-in, sure, I'll get a bunch more emails, but my open rate, my delivery rate would decline drastically because these people aren't as interested in my stuff or my products or my services. And so, build out your email list, make sure it's people that actually want to receive your emails. And the one thing I want to mention is renting versus owning an audience. When you're using paid traffic, you're kind of like renting an audience, you're paying for it. Once you collect emails, now you can consistently send them emails every 2 hours, and now you own that audience because you have their contact information, you have their phone number, you have their email. You can constantly message them. You don't have to keep paying these advertising platforms every single time to show you impressions, so show to your audience. The one thing I will say is a lot of beginners overlook emails and overlook retargeting campaigns. And the most profitable campaigns you can run are email campaigns and retargeting campaigns. So it's kind of funny when I see people just going broad all the time. So for example, if I'm selling an ice bath and I get 50,000 people onto my website and half of them give me their email, I'm a lot better off just sending a bunch of emails to those 25,000 people than just paying Google again for another 50,000 people to get on my website. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to you. And if I had to summarize what you're trying to do with paid advertising in one equation, it's exactly this right here. 2 times the cost to acquire a customer, CAC, equals 1 LTV. So that means for every 1 customer you get in, if they spend the amount of money that it costs you to acquire 2 customers, you can grow infinitely until this equation breaks. And I'm gonna give you a quick example of this. So let's say you have a video editing agency, and on average, a customer spends $3,000 with you, right? And you have no overhead. So that's just the first month. If you can get a customer for less than $1,500 through paid ads, you can scale your video editing agency crazy hard. And that is what a lot of company successes that you see like happen overnight, where someone just blows up. It's because they mastered this equation. They figured this out, because once you figure this out, it's like a snowball, you can scale. So for example, if it costs me $500 to sell a $5,000 sauna, and for every $5,000 sauna I sell, I get $2,500. Well, now I can scale infinitely and kind of just dominate the term saunas for sale or whatever it is, because it costs me less than how much I'm making. And so a lot of people see, advertising campaigns like, Dave, you spent $50,000 a month on ads this month, or you spent $200,000 a month on ads this month. Are you insane? And I just go by this equation, like, look, I'm spending this money to make money. For every dollar I spent, I got 3 back. I would make that trade every single day. Wouldn't you trade $1 for $3? I do that every single day. And that's basically what you're doing with paid ads. So if you can master this equation right here, you literally have like a cash printing machine. And another thing I want to mention is a lot of people have self-liquidating offers, and they actually lose money the first month and then make it back on month 2, month 3, month 4. So let me draw out a graph so you understand what I mean. So let's say you're running a video editing agency and you're trying to get customers to edit videos for. Let's say the first month you spend $1,000 on advertising and you collect 1,000 emails. So each email costed you $1, okay? And let's say you got 1 customer for, $800 that first month. So you spent 1,000 in ads and you got 800 back from that first customer. Well, now you have a customer and you have 999 people that were interested in your service. So if you're smart, you'll be sending out emails and automations to them, trying to educate them, trying to make them like you, and trying to get them to buy your stuff. And how this comes into play is, maybe 999 people won't buy the first month, but maybe the second month you'll get another customer out of 999. Out of 999 people, if you're sending good emails, you can get way more than one customer. But let's just be conservative here. So now that instead of getting 800 for that 1,000, now you got 1,600 for that 1,000. So in month 2, now you're finally starting to be profitable on your ads, because that first month you spent 1,000, and on month 2 you got $1.60 back for every dollar you spent. And then let's say that third month you kept sending out emails, and now that third month you get another customer. So now out of that $1,000 in ad spend, you got 3 customers, so that's $2,400, and now you're at $2.4 for every dollar you spent. And as you grow up your email list, as you nurture people, as you get them more familiar with your brand, it grows exponentially. This grows exponentially. So the more people you have on your email list that know, like, and trust you and are willing to buy from you and want your service and product, the more you're gonna make. That's why emails are so important. So oftentimes, I sometimes don't even look if my ads are profitable the first month. If I'm collecting emails and leads for, a price that I have set. So let's say I don't wanna go above $5 or $50 and it's staying below that, I know that within 3 months, those emails, each one is gonna spend, $30 with me. So I'm okay with spending $10 for that email. I might not see it right away, but sometimes you have to have patience. But once you're able to master that with email sequences and content sequences and, offer sequences, you really have a cash printing machine. And if you guys want, just comment down below and I'll go more into depth on this. Because I can talk for hours and hours about this. So managing and growing your business. So let's say, you started your online business, you made your first $1,000, your first $5,000, your first $10,000. Now all that's left to do is do more of what you did to make that first money. That's why, scaling an online business is so easy. If you're able to make $1 online, you're able to make $10,000, $100,000 online, because all you have to do is just repeat that process again and again and make it more efficient over time. So for example, if you ran one ad and spent $500 and you got a customer for $5,000, now you just have to run that ad a lot more times and make way more money. It's that simple, and that's why I love online business. Whereas in the real world, you have to constantly be doing more and more work. Whereas with a product, you just sell it one time, you figure out how to sell it profitably one time, and then you just scale it, ramp up ad spend, and you're good to go. As long as your supplier can keep up with you. So you find what works and you do it again and again. And then you just have a loop. And you just constantly repeat what worked and what worked and what worked. And that's really the easiest way to explain scaling. You don't want to worry about problems you don't have yet, but once you make your first 1,000, your first 5,000, your first 20,000, just do what got you there to begin with and cut out everything else and just focus on that and just keep doing that again and again and get better at it. So to conclude this video, we've covered a lot today. We've basically covered everything you can possibly imagine when it comes to starting an online business. And if I had to recap everything, it's don't recreate the wheel. Just copy something or a process that's working for someone else and you'll have success with it, guaranteed. Because if it's working for someone else and that person shows you how to do it, it'll work for you too. That's just basic common sense. That's logic. That's what I've seen work time and time again. And that's why I advocate for mentorships and one-on-one learning. So that being said, if you are interested in getting into e-commerce with this new way of doing e-commerce where we take technology, AI, new methods, and combine them together and sell products online, high ticket products where you can profit $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 per order, go ahead. I linked the video. I pinned a comment video down below. You can go check it out. But if you're trying to do something else, I don't have anything for you there. But if you're looking to get into e-commerce, go ahead, check out those videos. I think you'll find them really beneficial and it'll open your eyes up to what's possible in this new era of AI and e-commerce mixed together. Anyways, I want to give you a word of encouragement. Like, guys, it's really not that hard. It really isn't. It's very simple. I know it might be funny hearing that when we just went through like a long presentation, and you might be scratching your head right now. But it really is simple once you know what you're doing. I guess really going from 0 to 1 is harder than going from 1 to 100, quite honestly. Because there's a lot of foundational pieces that have to be made. Like in my mentorship program, I don't want to sound like I'm advertising it, but really I get people to their first sale, their first $5,000 sale, their first $20,000 sale, their first $50,000 sale on a high ticket e-commerce product. And then I see their motivation skyrocket, and their motivation to put in the work goes up drastically because it's become real to them. They see that they can make money online, they have the money hit their bank account, and they start working so hard because now they know exactly what to do. And as a beginner, when you don't know what to do, it's very discouraging because it feels like you're a chicken with your head cut off and you don't know what direction you're running and you don't know what you're doing. You don't know if you're making any progress. And that's why I recommend getting a mentor. So, like I said, I don't want to seem like I'm plugging my e-commerce mentorship hard here. Now, I'm just saying, if you resonate with what I say, if you like this style of teaching, feel free to check out that video pinned down below in the comments. But look, you want a mentor, whether you want to have an agency, a consulting business, a e-commerce store, you want a mentor regardless. Like, why wouldn't you save yourself so much time and money? Like, I wasted literally years of my life simply because I wouldn't listen to someone that's done it before. Like, if you're trying to build a house, wouldn't you want to build a house with someone that's built a house before, instead of trying to figure everything out on your own and having the roof collapse halfway in? Like, that's common sense. You want to learn from someone that's done what you want to do. That's common sense. And that's why I think college is so funny, because they have professors teaching business that have never done business. Like, okay, anyways, about the giveaway. So if you were paying attention, you saw what the word was. So whoever comments it first in the comments below, you are getting the $1,000 cash giveaway wired directly into your bank account. So whoever comments the word first is getting that. I'll message you for your contact information. Also, if you want that secret tip number 2, it's more so a strategy, a secret strategy. Comment down below secret strategy and I'll reach out to you and I'll email that information over to you. For everyone else, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys for sticking with me all the way till the end. I wish you luck on your online business. I have high hopes for you, because quite honestly, if you're able to make it through a video of this length, and you'd be surprised by how many people don't, I think you're on the right track and you'll have success very soon. So with that being said, I'll see you in the next one. Like, comment, subscribe. Take care.